Story number 1. The moment I stood before the old hospital, its towering silhouette a silent guardian of the night, I knew this was it. This was where the shadows whispered secrets meant to stay buried. Closed for years after whispers of malpractice and neglect, it stood, a monument to human error. I was here to peel back the layers, to shine light into its darkest corners. My heart was a drumbeat of determination. I had to uncover the truth, for them, for the forgotten. The chain-link fence was barely a hurdle. My backpack, filled with a camera, a flashlight, and an old map I'd pieced together from public records, felt like the armor of a knight venturing into a dragon's lair. The main entrance was barricaded, an obvious deterrent, but I wasn't here to take the easy path. Around the back, a broken window whispered an invitation. With a careful push, I was in, swallowed by the gaping maw of the hospital. The air inside was thick, heavy with the scent of decay and something else, something I couldn't name. My flashlight cut through the darkness, a lone beacon in the oppressive gloom. The hallway stretched out before me, lined with doors that hid stories of pain and despair. I could almost hear the echoes of cries long silenced. My mission was clear. Find the records, find the proof. Room by room, I searched. Most were empty, stripped of anything valuable by time or thieves, but here and there, remnants remained. A rusted wheelchair, a tattered bedsheet, files scattered like leaves in autumn. And then, the records room, its door ajar, as if waiting for me. Inside, mountains of paperwork awaited, a bureaucratic maze designed to confuse and confound. But I was patient, sifting through the detritus of a system that had failed its charges. It was in the depths of this paper jungle that I found it, a reference to a section not on any map, a place where the shadows grew deeper, where the light of inquiry was never meant to shine. My heart raced as I pieced together the clues, a trail of breadcrumbs leading me to a door hidden behind a decaying bookshelf. With effort, I pushed it aside, revealing a stairwell that spiraled down into the bowels of the hospital.
The air grew colder as I descended, the darkness thicker. At the bottom, a corridor stretched out, lined with doors much like the ones above, but these were different. These were sealed, not with locks, but with chains. My mind raced with thoughts of what lay behind them, of the experiments that had been whispered about, rumors of horrors that no ethical mind could conceive.
I chose a door at random, breaking the chains with bolt cutters from my bag. The room beyond was a nightmare made real. Tables stained with old blood, instruments of torture rather than healing, scattered haphazardly. And in the center, a chair that spoke of restraints and screams in the night. I had to document this, had to show the world. I raised my camera, the flash a lightning strike in the dark. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. In my hasty, I didn't see the shard of glass on the floor. It sliced through my glove, a line of fire across my palm. I cursed, the pain a bright flare in the dimness. Blood welled up, and I knew at once this was no minor cut. Panic rose as I wrapped my hand, the crimson stains spreading too quickly. Infection was a risk, especially here, in this place of death and neglect. I needed to leave, to find help. But as I turned to go, a sound stopped me cold. Footsteps, distant but unmistakable. Security. I was not alone. My heart hammered in my chest as I weighed my options. Caught here, I was a trespasser, my evidence dismissed, my mission failed. I couldn't let that happen. I pushed through the pain, retracing my steps to the hidden stairwell. The climb was a torment, each step a pulse of agony from my wounded hand. I emerged into the records room, the door to the hidden section now a gaping maw behind me. I could hear them now, the security guards, their voices a low murmur. Desperation lent speed to my steps. I had to escape, had to survive. The window through which I'd entered was my only hope. I could hear the guards now, their flashlights slicing through the darkness behind me. I pushed through the pain, my injured hand a constant reminder of the stakes. With a last burst of energy, I reached the window, the night air a balm on my fevered skin. I didn't dare look back as I climbed through, the jagged edges of the broken window a perilous obstacle. But the night was on my side, cloaking my escape. I ran, my breathe-a-ragged symphony, my heart, a drumbeat of fear and triumph. The infection from the cut was a burning chain, dragging me down, but I couldn't stop. Not now. I reached my car, hidden away from prying eyes, and with shaking hands, I started the engine. The drive to the nearest emergency room was a blur, my mind focused solely on survival. In the end, I did survive. The infection was severe, but not life-threatening. But more importantly, I had the evidence, the proof of the darkness that lurked within the walls of that forsaken hospital. It wasn't the end, but a beginning. A chance to bring light to the shadows, to tell the stories of those who had suffered in silence. Story number 2. When I first heard about the island, it was through hushed whispers online, a place shrouded in mystery and vanishing visitors. They said it was overrun by twisted willows, a once serene retreat turned into something else. I couldn't resist. The allure was too strong. My blog thrived on the macabre, and this was the perfect story to chase. Arriving at the island was like stepping into another world. The air felt thick, heavy with unspoken secrets. The willows loomed over me, their branches reaching out like fingers trying to grasp at something long gone. I pushed forward, my camera at the ready, eager to uncover what lay hidden beneath the island's somber veil. It wasn't long before I found them. Dolls, dozens of them, nailed to the trees, their glassy eyes staring blankly back at me. Each one, I realized, represented a person who had come to this island and never left. A chill ran down my spine, but my curiosity pushed me deeper into the island's heart. As I ventured further, the atmosphere grew oppressive, the silence broken only by the sound of my footsteps and the distant cawing of ravens. Then, without warning, the cawing grew louder, frantic. A swarm of ravens burst from the trees, their wings beating furiously against the air, their sharp beaks and claws tearing at me. I ran, stumbling through the underbrush, my heart pounding in my chest. But no matter how fast I moved, they were relentless. Disoriented and wounded, I barely noticed the cabin until I was practically upon it. It was decrepit, barely standing, as if it too had given up on fighting the island's oppressive grip. With the ravens still in pursuit, I had no choice but to dart inside, slamming the door shut behind me. The interior was dark, the only light filtering through cracks in the boarded-up windows. As my eyes adjusted, I saw him. An old man, his hair wild, his eyes reflecting a madness driven by profound loss. He was the island's dark guardian, a hermit who had once sought solace here, but was now trapped by his own sorrow. He spoke, his voice raspy, as if it had been years since he had last used it. "The island. It feeds," he whispered, "on sorrow, on the heartbroken. It lures them in, only to consume them, their despair fueling its cursed hunger." I realized then the grave mistake I had made. In my pursuit of the macabre, I had ignored the warnings, the tales of those who had ventured here and never returned. My fascination with the island's dark allure had blinded me to its true nature. The hermit moved closer, and in his eyes, I saw a reflection of my own fate if I didn't escape. "You must leave," he urged, "before it's too late. Before the island claims you as it has claimed so many others." But how could I leave? The ravens were still out there, and the island's twisted willows seemed to close in around me, trapping me. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I was the next to be consumed, another doll to be nailed to a tree. In a moment of desperation, I asked him, "How can I escape? Please, you must know a way." He looked at me, pity in his eyes. "There is only one path," he said slowly. "A path marked by loss, but also by hope. You must let go of your sorrow, your fascination with the darkness. The island feeds on despair. Starve it, and you may find your way back." I didn't understand, not fully, but I knew I had to try. I thought of everything that had led me here, my obsession with uncovering the darkest parts of the world, neglecting the light that balanced it. In that moment, I made a choice. I chose hope over despair, light over darkness. With the hermit's cryptic advice guiding me, I ventured back into the night, the ravens watching but no longer attacking. The path seemed clearer now, as if the island was reluctantly acknowledging my defiance. I reached the shore as dawn broke, the first light piercing through the darkness, dispelling the oppressive atmosphere that had enveloped the island. As I looked back, the willows no longer seemed menacing, but merely sad, mourning the souls lost to the island's hunger. Story number 3. Ravenwood Manor stood, a silent giant, its windows like dark, unblinking eyes, and the gates as if forged from nightmares. The tales of the Ravenwood family's tragic end, a saga of betrayal and murder, were well known. Yet, it was the silence, the unanswered why, that drew me in. I entered the manor under the pretense of restoring peace, of contacting the spirits to offer them closure. The heavy air inside tasted of dust and long-forgotten secrets. The grand staircase spiraled upwards, an invitation or a warning, I couldn't tell. The first sign of trouble wasn't a sign at all. It was a feeling, a cold shiver down my spine, as if the shadows themselves recoiled from my touch. I should have listened to that instinct, turned around, and left. But I pressed on, driven by a need to know, to understand the heart of Ravenwood Manor's darkness. I set up my circle of protection in the main hall, under the gaze of portraits whose eyes seemed to follow my every move. The Ravenwoods, painted in happier times, watched as I called out to them, asking them to share their story, to let me help them find peace. For a moment, there was silence, the kind that presses against your ears, heavy and absolute. Then, chaos. Shadows lunged from every corner, dark tendrils that wrapped around me, suffocating, blinding. I heard their voices then, not words, but a cacophony of anger, sorrow, and betrayal. The spirits of the Ravenwood family didn't want peace. They wanted retribution. In my panic, I stumbled backward, my foot catching on the edge of the rug. The world tilted dangerously. I reached out, grasping for anything to break my fall, but found only air. The staircase, once a grand symbol of the manor's elegance, became my downfall. I tumbled down, each step a sharp jolt of pain, until darkness claimed me. When I awoke, pain shot through my arm like lightning. Broken. The realization hit me with a wave of despair. I was alone, injured, in a house filled with vengeful spirits. My circle of protection, my only safeguard, lay abandoned at the top of the stairs. I had to leave. The manor, with its secrets and shadows, was no longer just a place of curiosity. It was a prison, one built on the foundation of a cursed legacy. Dragging myself to my feet, I ignored the pain, fueled by fear, and the will to survive. The spirits, however, had other plans. They manifested not as figures but as sensations, cold spots in the air, whispers just out of comprehension, the feeling of being watched. They herded me, not towards the exit, but deeper into the manor, towards the heart of their despair. I found myself in the library, a room heavy with the scent of old books and regret. The books, I realized, were not just books. They were the keepers of the Ravenwood story, each volume a testament to their rise and fall. And there, on a pedestal, lay an open journal. Not a diary, but a record of debts, of promises made and broken, of greed that led brother to turn against brother, child against parent. The betrayal that tore the Ravenwood family apart was not just emotional. It was a calculated, cold act of violence for wealth and power. The shadows around me thickened, and I understood then that the spirits did not just seek retribution against the world. They sought justice for the betrayal that ended them, a betrayal orchestrated by one of their own.